Phillies owned by way of Boston and the DMV and other locales, none other than Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
Yep, and the glue that holds it all together is the queen herself, Kawesa.
Kawesa.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Doing okay. Can't complain.
Doing okay. Well, see, first you sounded like, oh, yeah, I'm good. Then it was like, maybe not so quite as much.
No, I'm good. I actually was like running back to the mic. I didn't plug my headphones in. And I was like, oh, I won't be able to hear when I'm talking. That's kind of important. So I was like, oh, let me go.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Good. How was your ride in today?
It wasn't bad. I would have appreciated not getting stuck behind like an 18-wheeler. But besides that, it really wasn't too bad. That was only really when the traffic picked up. There were like 10 cars behind it, and we were just like going 15 miles an hour. And I'm like, I have to be at work. Please move. But besides that, it was fine. It's kind of cloudy. I think we're going to see, some thunderstorms possibly, throughout the day. And, of course, it's, muggy and damp. It's not comfortable to me outside. So, just trying to be honest with folks. But, maybe bring an umbrella, drive a little slower if you see that there's some, condensation, precipitation, whatever you want to call it. Moisture
Something
outside.
On the road, in the way, bringing up the oils off the ground, so be careful out there.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah, but not too bad. You. Not too bad.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah, it's going to be hot today. They said don't use your oven if you don't have to. So today is not a good day to bake a turkey.
Bake a turkey, put anything in there that's going to heat up the house. And it's you're muted, brother. Yeah, go ahead. What you want to say? You did it on purpose?
Yeah. No, not really. that's my excuse on Zoom when they're like, I'm like all in, finger waving in some like Zoom like forum. And they're like, that was great, but we didn't hear anything. You were muted.
Yes.
But no, I mean, seriously, today is just not the day to mess around. It is going to be extremely hot. Look out for the senior citizens, the elderly, and check in on them and make sure that they are good. So this morning, as we come to you from WURD Radio on all of our different formats, I want you to know that we are WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, and we hope that that comes through this morning through this conversation. And, we're talking about the weather. Boy, what's the weather like in New York State?
Oh, it's hot and chaotic. They got a lot going on in New York State right now, a lot going on. But they're about to inaugurate the first woman governor of the state of New York. So it'll be interesting. She's from the Buffalo region, and so she's a former congressperson, and it should be hopefully a calmer ride for them down the road here.
First of all, did New York State go through this as well? I'm trying to remember who was before Cuomo.
So there, George Pataki was there, but then there was I can't remember the guy who was blind, African-American and blind, who became governor. Was it Elliot Spitzer that resigned?
There you go. Yeah. So it's like, so apparently if you're black or if you're a woman, the only way you get to become governor in New York is like when some white guy just messes up.
That's terrible.
Well, am I wrong?
Well, no, I mean, that does appear to be the way. Now, in the last election, Cynthia Nixon, who played in Sex and the City, actually ran against Cuomo in the Democratic primary. He beat her really badly, but she was running against him at the time, but did not get elected.
Sex and the City lost too easy. Too easy. I mean,
I didn't think about that, but yeah, you're right.
Too easy. Apparently, she was trying to tell you something, New York.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So Cuomo was out. I mean, like literally. So what happened yesterday? I mean, just what was this? In your opinion, what was the straw that broke the camel's back?
I think, well, two things happened. Right. One's a family legacy issue, right? So the Cuomos have a legacy in the state of New York. Father Mario had been the governor prior to that, and was a very popular governor, served several terms as governor of the state of New York. I think the evidence was overwhelming. I think you're in one of the most progressive states in the country. If this was, super deep red Trumpican territory, he probably could have got away with it, but not in New York State of all places, where you have probably the most liberal city in the country that's sitting right there and being big advocates for women's rights, women's equality. So it was a big challenge. He could not surmount that. Although I think he started to in the very beginning. By the time he got to his statement and his confession, he said, look, he might disagree with some of the statements, but he said, evidently, I've offended 11 women. There are 11 women that are offended out there, and he apologized for that. Talked about his daughters, did not want people to treat his daughters like that. And I think that's a real challenge that he had to overcome. Again, if this had been a different state and it had been a different political party, they probably would have kept on going like nothing happened. But I think he was just in a situation where even his own allies were saying to him, look, this is not good. Letitia James, who is the African-American Attorney General for the state of New York, happens to be a friend of his. And she's the one that came up with the report that pointed out and said, yeah, you got a problem, man. You got a problem. So, even his allies at some point, I'm not going to say they turned on him because he messed up and he did not do what he should have done. He took, and I mean, this is the prerogative of toxic masculinity where you think you can do and say and just be whatever you want, no repercussions for it. He actually had to deal with the repercussions of it.
Well, so do you think that I'm being devil's advocate. Let me just share with you like some of the feedback that I've heard, even from listeners of this program over the last couple of weeks when you were out, which is that, Democrats just need to basically grow a pair. And, you're just playing in the Republicans' hands. And like you even mentioned, you have to own it all. We as Americans elected Donald Trump, even after he was caught on audio and didn't deny it, literally saying that he would sexually assault women. That's the legal definition, what he was talking about doing, against their will, without their consent, and grabbing them in their private parts because apparently they love it, right? And Republicans were like, yep, well, that's our guy. He's going to get us everything we want electorally and give us justices that we want on the Supreme Court and in the federal court. And so we're going to ride or die with him regardless. I mean, what do you say to that when Democrats say that as a party, we should be just like the Republicans and just you got the power right now, don't throw it away over something, quote unquote, like this?
Well, I mean, I think we have to eventually begin to create a different level of politic and politician that's not going to act in the formal tradition. How many scandals came out of the Congress during the years? I don't know if you remember, was it back in the 70s and 80s, the Congressional Pages scandal, about the number of congressional pages that were getting raped by congressional leaders at the time or having in sexual relationships. These were high school and college students, with congressional leaders. So, I mean, at some point you have to, put your foot down and say enough is enough and offer an alternative to what we see as, total toxic masculinity at this particular point in time that, it's seeing happening with Trump. I do think that being different is important in this moment. And that, that you're right, there are people out there saying that Democrats should just toughen up. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was saying Cuomo should just, tough it out and not admit anything and not do anything. And they were saying that, these weren't the worst, charges in the world. And I hear that. But at the same time, for every woman that's ever been groped or has been talked to in a way that's not been warranted or invited by a lover or a partner, by somebody that they thought they worked for and respected, this is very problematic, and it's a challenge for them to be able to continue to work in that environment, to feel safe in that environment, to go about their daily task in their environment. And so if Democrats really want to be able to pull the country together and do something powerful, they need to be able to step into this space and say, no, we have to do better.
Well, so, all right, so on the opposite side of the country is Governor Gavin Newsom of California. So, I mean, think about this. The two biggest states that are run by Democrats are both in battle, and he is facing a recall. You kind of juxtapose that with the two largest Republican states, Florida and Texas. Both of those governors have also been problematic, especially around COVID. And yet somehow, so even with people dying, you know, and them fighting science, their folk are like with them. Gavin Newsom is making the argument now that if he is recalled, it's going to have consequences in the midterm. I don't really know how. I mean, he's fighting for his political life. I guess he's going to say whatever he wants. But do you think that there is let me just ask, is there a conspiracy afoot for, you know, going against these Democratic governors, or is this just a coincidence of just two guys who really kind of like forgot how they got there?
Well, one, Newsom is being attacked because Republicans are upset about all the mandates that he put into a COVID-19, right? There's no scandal there. This is purely about him shutting California down during the country. And actually, in California, you only need 1 million voters to sign a petition to do a recall, right? And so it's the second largest state in the country, you know, it might be the largest state in the country, right? It's like 28 million people there. So 1 million voters really isn't that much to be able to do a recall. So the Democrats, for the most part, have lined up and said they would not run anybody against him. There's like all kinds of people running in this recall election to take Gavin Newsom out. He is not expected to lose this election. So hopefully he, you know, stays in. But again, you know, they're in some sense, I mean, definitively in Newsom's case, this was an attack by the Republican Party who did not appreciate what he was putting in place with regard to COVID-19 restrictions. And California got hit hard early and stayed hit hard for a very long period of time, including now with some numbers going back up again. Cuomo messed up. Now, there is a theory, and this is a conspiracy theory, that part of what's happened here is that some folk got to some of these women because of Trump. And, you know, Trump, because Cuomo was battling Trump all the way through COVID. And so there are folk that believe that this was, you know, Trump's people trying to, you know, dismantle Cuomo and also take him out of the 2024 presidential election. Again, this is not proven. I'm just saying, you know, this is I need to clarify that, right? This is a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. But it's honestly, it's not really that far-fetched. But, I mean, you know, Trump was trying to keep New York State's federal money from them because of what Cuomo was doing, right? So, you know, certainly there is some tension around that. So, I mean, Cuomo did what he did, and he admitted, you know, that he offended people. You know, that's his term, not mine. So there's validity to the charges that are coming. And as Deacon Maleka said, he also wants to stay out of jail because now there are criminal charges coming from certain, you know, local governments and county governments as well through their district attorneys. So there's a definitive problem there. But, I mean, for Newsom, I mean, bottom line, it's a Republican attack. Everybody knows it's a Republican attack. They think it's a waste of time, money, and energy for California to go after him, but they're doing it anyway.
Well, I'll just say this. We got to take a break. That Newsom has, you know, like Cuomo, has some self-inflicted wounds. I mean, it's, like you said, again, it's not the same thing, but just politically, right? When he had an opportunity to replace, as the U.S. Senator, someone to replace Vice President Kamala Harris, it was a no-brainer, pick a black woman. Barbara Lee in Oakland or, oh my God, Karen Bass out of Los Angeles were the two people that came to front and center, you know, in everyone's minds. And instead he chose a Mexican-American man who he had political connections with. And it appeared to be returning a favor, which was deeply hurtful for black folk in the state of California, because it is hard for black people to win statewide in California, and for a black woman to win the U.S. Senate, right? And then for that seat to feel like it was taken away. So he's not made a lot of friends in the way that he should. And I've always been kind of concerned and wondering, would that come back and hurt him in a recall? Because now he needs those same people that he didn't think he needed just a few months ago. But listen, we can finish that on the other side of this short commercial break. This is the Power Hour. This is WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hey, WURD family, did you hear? It's official. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance just announced the new age for colon cancer screenings has been officially lowered to age 45 for everyone. If you are 45 or older, it's time to get screened. Go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to register for your free at-home screening test. Did you know colon cancer is largely preventable with on-time screening? And there's a 90% survival rate when caught early. African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. So for the next 3 months, you can go to wordradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. A screening navigator will contact you to ask a few questions and help you get screened. It's that simple. Again, just go to wordradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and fill out the form to request your free at-home screening test. Go to Know today.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. Join WURD Radio for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year, we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, North, West, and North Philly. Tiffany Bacon will broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Our next stop is North Philly at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue, Friday, August 13th. Pick up voter registration information, meet special guests, and stand with WURD. Be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the black community. Show your support and join and renew your WURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Friday, August 13th. So make sure to check out Tiffany Bacon this Friday at the Martin Luther King Jr. Recreation Center at 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue.
And yeah, they're going to North Philly, which is dope because that's also where Dawn Staley is from.
Oh, wow. That'll be cool. Maybe they run into Dawn. She might come back and wave her gold medal around.
Man, that's so first player to lead a team to gold in the Olympics and come back as the head coach and again lead the team to gold.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All she does is win.
All she does is win, win, win.
You know, so she has this dog, by the way, Dawn Staley, you all. What kind of dog do you have again? You have a Shih Tzu?
Bichon Frise.
Yeah, it was like one of those like fancy dogs. And so she's got one too. It's like a Havernus. Did I get that right?
I think there is a dog like Havernus, yeah.
Something like that, like Haverford, Havernus. I don't know, bro. I mean, you know, I'm kind of a Rottweiler pit bull guy, but I don't know. But apparently, it's a cute little dog. And just as an aside, in case you needed to know this, her dog Champ Staley, because of course she's going to name him Champ, has his own Twitter account.
Oh wow!
And I'm embarrassed.
People do that with their dogs.
Well, I'm embarrassed to say he has more Twitter followers than me.
Oh wow, that's deep.
He got me like by about 1,000.
All right, y'all. Y'all need to go out there and go follow the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler on Twitter. What's it at MKT?
Wait a minute.
At MKT.
I'm looking on this right now, and followed by, you know, like shows you like people that you're familiar with, followed by Troy Wilmore. Where is Troy of WURD? I got to make sure that Troy, if you follow it, Troy's following Champ, so we should have him come on one day to talk about it. But it says, Champ Staley, I was birthed to represent champions, namesake derived from South Carolina women's basketball team's first national championship in 2017. Yeah, she did that too.
Yeah, man.
She did all that.
Incredible. From North Philly. Way to go, Dawn Staley. Thank you for everything you do.
A daughter of children of the Great Migration, parents from South Carolina. I mean, that's such a classic story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
I need to make a correction here because I said earlier that California had 28 million people. I apologize. It's actually 40 million. And 6.5 or 6.2% of the population is African American. Actually, the largest minority population in California is actually Asian Pacific Islander. They're 15% of the population.
yeah, I heard you say the number. I was, it sounded kind of low because it's almost like 28 million in LA.
Yeah, I throw those numbers out there. It's the West Coast.
Bro, SoCal, man, is like, there's like when you can literally drive about 100 from San Diego, with the exception of Camp Pendleton in the middle of that. You got to kind of drive to the Marine base and all their operations on I-5. From San Diego until you get to the Grapevine, it's uninterrupted cities. And that's about 100 and, let's see, maybe almost 200 miles straight. It's like, that's the part that when I moved out moved out of California, that I had to get accustomed to, that, you leave Philly and then you go into nothing. I mean, I'm sorry, you all. You know what I mean? It's not like nothing. But I'm just saying, it's like you leave a big city and then there's small towns, and then there's literally like, no development for miles and miles and miles. You hit Harrisburg and then there's nothing. And then there's, on and on. Bro, California is a different animal.
I mean, when you consider 3 of the top largest cities in the country are in California by themselves.
I'm saying.
L.A., you have San Diego, and then San Jose.
Right. So you have multiple cities that are over 1 million people, and a ton of cities that are 500,000. And when you get to the 150 to 200,000 cities, you can't even count them. And so, so it's a different kind of animal. So it'll be interesting to follow that recall there to see how it plays. But again, you said something earlier, and I want to just say this is the problem with elected officials that all elected officials have. It is that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's been said, said hundreds of years ago, and it still is true, that there's something about when you get power that even the people with the best intentions have the tendency to go off the rails and create environments that are not healthy, that are not productive, that are not safe. In this case with Cuomo, that it wasn't just that women were feeling kind of like, he's kind of icky. No, it's like they felt unsafe. Yeah. It was a hostile work
including
environment.
A state trooper, right? We should say that too, including a state trooper.
Yeah, when a woman who comes to work with a gun is still feeling like she's not safe, bro, that's a bad environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so I think that it's incumbent then upon the rest of us to continue to check the powers that be, because if you don't, Cuomo probably could never envision himself as being anything like Donald Trump. But if you listen to everybody who's talking about him in this moment and how he has just really been denying it, and even like that so-called apology yesterday, which people are saying, he just said that because he wants to run again. He ain't really kind of own it, right? And it's kind of Trumpish.
Well, part of it is, though, so he cannot take full culpability publicly because he's now got criminal cases. And so anything that he said in the public venue could then be used in a criminal case, right, to come against him. So, he can only say but so much if he's trying not to go to jail, right? Forget running again. He's facing possible criminal sentencing.
Yeah.
So, he can't just go out there and be like, I messed up, y'all. I did this, I did that. If he did that, then, every district attorney or state's attorney in New York State would be, like, here we go. He admitted it. These 11 counts, at least these 11 we know about, he's admitted it. Let's just slam the book. There's no need to have a trial.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And so, right. So, but Cuomo is another example of persons who forget where they come from and forget that they're there to represent people and that it's not all about them. It takes a massive ego to become elected the governor of New York or California, where you have millions and millions of people. It's like running nationally in other countries. And so you almost have to be built that way to get in. And then once you're in, though, if you are not in some kind of way grounded and still connected, you become the person that you always said you were going to go fight against on behalf of the people. And it's just unfortunate. You know, I mean, again, I'm sure Republicans are basking in this right now and enjoying it. But, I mean, bro, you kind of opened the door for them. So, and speaking of open doors, there is, so a lot has been happening quietly with men in particular, black men in particular in Pennsylvania, who've been convicted wrongfully of crimes they did not commit, and in many cases spent 20, 30, 40 years in prison, who have been released. The DA's office has been involved in this, a lot of great work by defense attorneys and, you know, things like the Innocence Project. The latest such story that came out today, we talked about this when Willie Vesey was released some time ago, but this just shows you the connection between a bad criminal justice system, which often starts with bad police work. It often starts there. How the cost is not simply, you know, which is enormous in and of itself, the cost of a person losing their freedom, the impact that it has on their family, all the kind of things are associated with the gross injustice of detaining a person that did not do something just for a day, let alone multiple years. But then there's also the actual financial cost on the city of Philadelphia.
Right.
Pennsylvania is one of the only big states that doesn't give any compensation to people who have been wrongfully convicted of a crime. And so this man, Willie Vesey, who spent 27, bro, how many years was Nelson Mandela in jail?
Yeah, it was like almost 30.
27.
Yeah.
27 years. He did the same time Nelson Mandela did for murder he did not commit, was released back in 2019 before the pandemic, and now the city is paying him your tax dollars from the city wage tax, my tax dollars, everyone else, and it is right that we are compensating this man. $5 million is not enough, but he is receiving $5 million from the city for a crime he did not commit because of bad police work.
Yep. And the city was paid out over the last couple of years $40 million in payments to former, and I don't want to say they're not returning citizens because they should have never left in the first place, but people who were improperly incarcerated. $40 million they paid out. So they just paid him $5 million, but he can't get back those years. Those years are gone. They're gone.
And I got to believe $5 million, while it may make life easier, it is not, as you said, going to erase any of what he went through. But here we are. And so the question has to be, you know, I mean, like, what changes, right? And so as we think about this new CPOC that is about to roll out, the new Citizens Police Oversight Commission, you know, all the things we've been wrestling with around trying to gain more civilian control over how policing is done, to take away the mystery, to give more transparency. These kind of stories highlight how important that is. Because on the one hand, it is certainly about trying to rein in police who are doing the things that are blatant, like posting on Facebook, death to Islam, and racist and sexist and misogynistic and homophobic and xenophobic kind of things. Is obviously about trying to rein in police who are, I don't know, beating up protesters at protest march and pepper spraying them, and even worse, shooting, you know, civilians. But it's also about this part. It is also about, you know, cops who just go out planting evidence, making up stories, threatening witnesses, and turning people into, you know, basically using leverage of fear over people to get them to lie on fellow citizens, to incarcerate them for multiple years. That it also has to be about this. Because I don't know systemically, although these men are being released, what has happened within the department and in departments across the country to change what put him in jail in the first place.
Right. I mean, this is a problem of just, you know, policing in general, the criminal justice system in general, and like you said, you know, what has changed? I mean, there are because of the way the police union contract is set up, we know that there are bad cops on the Philadelphia Police Department right now. We know that they're still there. We know that there are those that have left that are back because of that. We know that there's a do not call list in the district attorney's office for police officers they will not call to testify in cases. You know, if you're in a job and you can't be effectively used, why do you still have the job? Why do you still have a job?
Yeah.
So, you know, this is certainly a challenge, and I mean, you know, we're excited about the CPOC and what's going to come with that, but we know that there's still a long way to go in terms of policing here in Philadelphia and around the country that has to be addressed. So, you know, and we know that there are more people sitting in jail right now that don't need to be there, that should not be there.
Listen, I can tell you, see, that's my question, which is who's policing the police? Right? I mean, again, I am much more concerned about bigger issues around police oversight than just the, you know, tailoring it down to the things that typically lead to protest marches and demonstrations. And again, and it should be, but it is also about this part. So how is it possible then, for example, for the officer implicated in sending Hassan Bennett to prison for 13 years for a murder he didn't commit, whose name also came up in multiple cases that have been overturned now, how's that guy still on the force? Now he's not an active detective anymore, but like still getting paid. This is the part that
tax dollars are still paying for him.
How do you wrongfully convict somebody and then you still have a job?
Yep.
This is what I mean, and this is why I keep saying that when you talk about police oversight, that it ultimately has to lead to places that, you know, involve citizens in hiring and firing and recruitment and training. It can't simply be to review cases of excessive force. That is a beginning, but that can't be the end. And for police around the country and in the city who say, well, that's not your job. Well, until you do it right, it has to be our job.
Right, absolutely.
We just paid this man $5 million because you didn't do it. And I guarantee you from the 27 years that he spent to the present, there are still people who are going to prison in this city in the same manner.
And I'm sorry, what did the FOP say in response to this?
So right now, the officers, according to the story this morning, the officers who were involved denied wrongdoing. And that's the funny thing. You know, nobody ever did anything wrong. It's as one of our former DAs said about a police-involved shooting, it was a tragedy, but not a crime. So nobody ever does anything wrong. It's, well, this guy did 27. Oh, he did 20. He did 13. So here's like 20 guys who all were wrongfully convicted of bad, and again, cases built on bad policing from the very beginning, but nobody did anything wrong. Yep. I guess they're like no-fault accidents.
Yep.
On that note, so our pressure will all go down. It's 6:40. Perfect time for a break. This is the Power Hour, WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. Hit the share button if you're on social media. When we come back, we'll read some of your comments about what we have been discussing. We'll be right back.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Join WURD for the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour. This year, we celebrate West Oak Lane, Mantua, North, West, and South Philly. I'm Tiffany Bacon. I'll broadcast live from a different neighborhood each Friday from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Our next stop is North Philly at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center, 2101 Cecil B. Moore Avenue on Friday, August 13th. Pick up voter registration information, meet special guests, and stand with WURD and be a part of the movement to amplify the voice of the Black community. Show your support and join or renew your WURD membership on site. That's the Summer of Freedom Neighborhood Love Tour at the Martin Luther King Recreation Center from 10 a.m. until 12 noon, Friday, August 13th. WURD, showing love this summer.
The WURD Radio Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Comcast and supported by Pico, Keystone First, Ready Set Philly, and Hope Partnership for Education. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
This report sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. Some volume getting busy on the Schuylkill Expressway eastbound. A little slow from Montgomery through Girard, westbound side. City out to Belmont, beginning to build there by an expressway westbound 95 to Broadslow Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Southbound 95, Cobbin to Bridge slow there. Again, delays building from Betsy Ross through Girard, northbound side moving fine. Looking at 55, northbound building a bit north of Deptford now into 42. Big interview. You check your suit, your resume, your palms, but did you check your breath? It's SmartMouth, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day. Find SmartMouth in the mouthwash aisle at CVS or get 20% off at smartmouth.com/radio. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Clear skies, warm and humid this morning. Temperatures with sunshine will warm into the upper 80s by lunchtime and a high of 96 this afternoon. Factor in the humidity, it'll feel like 105 degrees. Cooling down into the upper 70s overnight, a muggy night tonight, and hot and humid again tomorrow, 98 near the record high of 99 degrees. It'll feel like 106 with the high humidity Thursday. Friday afternoon, 98 degrees again with mostly sunny skies, feeling like 105. There is a chance of some isolated to scattered showers each afternoon right on through the end of the work week. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Welcome back to WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media. You are listening to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne David Royster.
Hey, man, you know, Catfish Hillbilly on
on YouTube.
Well, on WURD, he's live feed on YouTube, really says what I feel, because I am a big union supporter for the most part. And it always pains me because a lot of times cops feel like, well, you're going after the union. So I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm not trying to get into your benefits and your pay. That's not my issue.
Right.
And Catfish Hillbilly says the one clear exception to supporting unions, the FOP.
Absolutely.
They are a perversion of the union concept. Talk about corrupted power.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great comment.
I totally agree with that. That's a great comment. I totally agree with that comment.
And then along the same line, here's a person who doesn't comment all the time on Facebook Live, but Wesley Williams says, good morning. Police union contracts should be public. There should, I'm going to throw word B, there should be hearings on the things they want since people are paying their salaries. And let me just add an addendum there, Wesley, and paying for their mistakes.
Absolutely.
If we're going to pay for both of those, I think you're right. It should be out in the open. And Council Member Catherine Gilmore Richardson has really been leading the fight on trying to make that happen as a champion. You know, help get some legislation.
That passed.
It passed, but yeah, but again, it's like, you know, the FOP is fighting it, and so you know, it's a very again, when you're talking about negotiating, it is difficult. You and I know that, but again, the union for the police is a little different than everybody else because we don't give SEPTA drivers the ability to go out and shoot and kill people.
That's right.
And justifiably. And we don't give them the right to, to bring in witnesses. And, I mean, listen to this story. This is from back in June, out of the Enquirer. Samantha Melamed was the writer, but she was writing about Theophilus Binky Bilal Wilson, who was exonerated last year. He did 28 years for a 1989 triple murder that he did not commit. And she says he's filed a lawsuit demanding compensation and painting a damning portrait of a police investigation he said ignored witness accounts, eyewitness accounts, forensic evidence, and leads to pointing to a different suspect. And this man said, you can't put a price on what's lost.
Right.
You just try to get compensation and move on.
Yeah, you can't put a price on what's lost. That's a whole life. It's marriage, children, buying houses, ice cream cone, long walks on the beach. I mean, all that stuff you can't get back.
Right. I mean, we talk about the Central Park Five, the documentary by Ava DuVernay, as though somehow they were like this big exception to the rule that normally that doesn't happen, but we know that that's not the case. And that you have all of these cases right now, and people are filing before the statute of limitations. I think there's like a small window that they can file for these wrongful convictions to get compensated. And I'm like, yeah, pay them all. First of all, release all of the ones who've been wrongfully convicted and then pay them. But in doing so, we are paying them. And so so listen, here's the deal. Police Department of Philadelphia. If you don't want us in your business and you want total autonomy, then here's the arrangement. You pay these cases out of the police fund.
There you go.
McNesby, write the $5 million check.
Out of the FOP money. We want them out of the FOP fund, right?
Right. Write that check to VC and to all the rest of them. And also, you start buying your own bullets, buying your own gun, buy your own uniforms, pay your own salary. And the moment you do that and you do everything for yourself and you stop using our money, then we will stop trying to be in your business. But as long as it is our money that pays for everything, including your horrendous mistakes, then don't tell me that civilians don't have a place at the table because you clearly don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're 100% right about that.
Well, so all right. So can we talk about something a little more uplifting before we get out of here today?
Sure. I feel bad. I feel like I came back to the show and it's been a downer.
No. Oh, it's been like this ever since you've been gone. Actually, you're about to bring it up because we talked about this before you left. Right before you left, you went to a thing called BlurredCon.
BlurredCon, yes.
And I'm going to be gone. I'm taking some time off, and so. It was my chance to sneak in sports stories, and I was like, he ain't here. We talking sports today. Yeah. Who you got? NFL season coming. Who you got? But I know that you're kind of starting to think through what's going to happen when I'm out later this month or whenever that happens. So what do you have in mind? Who are you going to bring through?
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot since I went to BlurredCon, right? So I think, for Black folk, we have a tendency to think that we're monolithic, right? That everybody's down, the whole nine. It is a certain way that we all show up in the world. And that is not the case. And that the African-American experience in America is as diverse and wild as possible. So I'm actually really excited to kind of explore the Black nerd phase of our existence, of our showing up, which is the comic book, the anime, the manga, writing, not magna, it's a type of comic book, graphic novel writing, the space where we are doing deep reflection on our experience in this country through these genres as well. So I want to try to line up some of the authors, the African-American authors that are in those spaces. I want to try to line up, some of the people that really play large in the convention space, in the comic book space and other places to come be a part of a conversation with us throughout, that time as you're out to talk about this more deeply, because this is the land that I live in. So I don't do sports. So this is my space and my chance to talk about it. So I want to, explore that and be in dialogue with some folk that are doing things in those spaces. So that's part of what the plan is here.
So I just got a text that says you should have a personal computer seminar where you get tips on common problems that some people encounter. Since you're going to bring on some black nerds, have somebody come on who can help people set their cell phone up.
The person that sent that text, though, does not qualify as a black nerd. So that's the thing. I know who sent this text. So I'm like, he does not qualify as a black nerd. So that's an idea. That is an idea, yes.
So let me tell you, you know who you should have. Especially since you want to talk about comics, there is a sister who runs a black-owned, the black-owned comic book store in Philly.
She's been on before, I know. So we'll certainly try to reach out and see what we can do to connect. But I have, as a matter of fact, I have one of your frat brothers that's writing in a genre. He's like one of the first black people to write in this genre. He also happens to be a medical doctor, so I'm really working on trying to get him on to basically have these conversations. And yes, okay, thank you. You're a geek, not a nerd. Thank you for sharing that. That's that other person that was texting. It's my brother, y'all, just so you know. So he's a computer guru. So I'm trying to reach out to folk and start getting that set up so people can come in and so we can have conversation in this space, because I think I don't know about you, but this probably wasn't your experience, but when I was growing up, right, being a black nerd was not cool, right? It was not a thing. Now black nerds are actually leading Black America, but there is this, but I think even now there's still this situation where we're typecast, right? We're not black enough. We're all these other things, and I think that part of it is that we don't expose the culture. We don't help people understand the land that we live in. So I really want to be able to share that with more people.
All right, folks. So that's one of the things that will be coming your way. Bernita says on Facebook that start with this, I guess, debunking myths about black nerds. Sheila Booker says teach people how to send group texts that are not reply all. Yeah,
that's
man.
a good one, Sheila. That's really a good one.
So many directions you can go with this stuff, right? That's exactly. So look, unfortunately, that's all we had time for. But I just want to say that we could take people's suggestions all the way up to when I go on vacation of like what kind of black nerdy kind of stories that you can have.
Yes. So please post them in the Facebook thread, and we'll ask throughout the remainder of the week and moving forward that we want to have this conversation. And so please put your comments, suggestions, people you might know that we should have a conversation with in this space. We'll be glad to talk to them. All right. Well, that's it for us, everybody, today. And thank you, Renee. I do feel refreshed, and I am praising God for that. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for everything that you do. Thank you, Koisa, for holding down the boards. Thank you, everybody that's listened to us through all the various means that you can get us. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Stay tuned now for Solomon Jones on With It With Word. You listen, everybody, go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.